Hello and welcome to our second one of these, reviewing another album. What album? This time we are doing Now or Whenever, the third album released by British band Spector. Conversely, compared to the Vaccines, I am a Spector fan. I've listened to their two previous albums, Moth Boys and Enjoy It While It Lasts before. Probably have enjoyed it while it lasts on this little pile of CDs that I've accrued here. If I don't, it'll be awkward. I do actually have it here. I have Now or Whenever as well. That would be a way better prop to have had, but that's not to hand at the moment. Already messed up the intro, who cares? We're going to be going through it track by track. I'll be saying my thoughts on every single song and then gathering my overall thoughts at the end, giving the album a score out of 100 or out of 10 using decimals, whichever way you want to look at it. This album was released on the 7th of January 2022, so I'm actually vaguely on time. That's, 9 days ago now? I was excited for it to come out, and it did eventually come out. It was delayed, it was supposed to initially come out in October 2021, got pushed back to January 2022. Here we are now. They released 5 singles and one song that wasn't on the album to tide us over in the meantime, but we're here now. We're ready for the meat and potatoes of it. Let's get started then with When Saturday Comes, the first song. And is it really a song? Not a single word in it. It's just a bit of ambient noise, really. It feels like a bit of, you're so excited to have this album, you put it on the TV. This is what I did. I'm not saying you all do this. Threw it on the TV on Spotify and immediately just turned it on. It was just nothingness. It was a minute of your life where it was just sort of a bit of noises. Didn't really do anything for me at all. Apparently it was originally supposed to be the intro to D-Roy, which is track number 8, I believe. Off the top of my head, I think it's 9 actually. It seems, nice enough, but it feels like a bit of a waste of a first impression. I feel like it does set up the next song fairly well, which I'm not going to segue into because I wanted to say other songs in the album that might have made good openers would have been maybe Bad Summer. I don't know why, it just has that sort of, feels almost like intro-y, but then Do You Want to Drive as well, because thematically asking someone if they want to drive, and then you could say the album is the whole road trip. That kind of makes sense. But anyway, let's move on. When Saturday Comes, very little to say. I've managed to say some things about it. Let's move to a song we can definitely say things about. It's catchy on the way back in. It's the lead single from the album. Starting off with that heavy guitar and the light synthesizers in the background gives it a sort of space age feel. Something that's not really continued throughout the rest of the album, but it's what they said would be a heavier feeling, and I think that definitely carries through compared to some of their previous work, where it was tended to be kind of light. This is quite heavy, and I think it is a real banger. It really starts the album off very well. The guitar at the start of the show, the heavy one at the start, as I said, and also on the verses, it's very good. The lyrics as well, also excellent. I love the bridge that you've seen the way I've been sleeping all night. Yeah, no one could describe me as the strong and silent type. The drums on the second verse as well are lovely, and I love how the song accelerates into that final verse. It was my third most played song on Spotify in 2021. I think you can tell that I like it quite a bit. I would say it's definitely a 10 out of 10 song. There's only 3 songs in this album I'd say are 10 out of 10s. There's not that many songs overall in the world I would say are 10 out of 10s. Probably about 100 ever that I've ever listened to. I'm quite young though, so there could still be plenty more to be added. But this one definitely is. It sets up the album super well, where the first song definitely failed. The numbers are going to throw me throughout this album because this is song number 3, but it's really kind of song number 2 because When Saturday Comes, as I said before, was a non-song. It's the shortest real song on the album now, with Do You Want to Drive? Missing a question mark. I think he said that was something to do with the Strokes or whatever. I'm not familiar enough with their work to be able to really understand what that's a reference to. Again, we have another song driven by the guitars. You kind of expect there is only 2 people in the band, the singer and the lead guitarist. I love the lyrics throughout this album, especially the ones that start off this song: a sublet in the suburbs, a Midland summer night's dream. Don't think it has anything to do with them. I think they're both from London. Don't think they've do a lot in the Midlands. The song is basically just the extended chorus of the Do You Want to Drive? Do you want to drive with me? Do you want to dive back into ubiquity? And I think it works really well with that short runtime. Spector in the past have done short songs before, like Reaper Band, things like that, songs which just have a bit of not that much to say, or they just go through so quickly. Decade of Decay is another one. They are masters of having those super short songs. This is another excellent one. It's just a nice one to sing along with. Feels like a road trip song. Just the title itself sort of gives that impression as well. And it was the first new song I listened to. I was definitely not disappointed when I heard it. It's driving as well has generally been a theme with Spector. Maybe it's not a theme. Maybe I'm just being lazy and tying it to Chevy Thunder, but it's definitely linked to Chevy Thunder in one way or another. Do you want to die? Before he says dive. gives you the impression, it harks back to that song. If you're not familiar, that was a song where they talked about stealing someone's car and driving until they died. If I did a review of that album, I think I'd have a lot of thoughts about that. I think the song though could maybe have done with a bit more harmonies. I think maybe it loses something in the fact that they might have wanted to really replicate it live, and they can't do that by adding more people in, 'cause it's not going to have more people to sing it live. But I think a few more layers of people singing might have been nice. But then again, maybe they experimented with that. I think it's good as it is though. I wouldn't say you need to change it that much. Do You Want to Drive, track number 3. Track number 4 then is going to be a little bit different. I forgot to mention track 3. We're going to go back. Theme of travel is definitely present throughout this album. Do You Want to Drive is going to be the song that is the most obvious for that, because it's in the name. The next song, well, it's not that difficult to see in that one either. But this definitely feels like an album that you could listen to on public transport, and one that I probably will end up listening to on public transport. I've got a big trip ahead, 2 days away from when I'm recording this. Track number 4 then, Norwegian Air. Now we've gone from the car, we've gone to the plane, continuing that theme of travel. The synthesizer stealing the show in this one, as well as that slightly fuzzy guitar on the chorus. It's a haziness to the song, and it reminds me kind of the rain that adorns the album cover, and the feeling of sort of being lost. Feels like a bit of it's a peril with travel, being lost. And Do You Want to Drive is sort of the preparing to go. This song is when you have gone, you kind of want to turn back. What's that line? Tell me if you want to turn back. I can't remember the exact wording, but I think it's another excellent song, but it's a bit more understated than Do You Want to Drive. It doesn't play its hand as heavily as Do You Want to Drive. Is very simple, whereas this one feels a bit more complex, and I think I enjoy it slightly more for that. As Do You Want to Drive is just sort of a song you can sing along to and relax. Norwegian Air feels like it's got that bit of beef, a little bit to back it up a little bit. Could probably have even been a single. I really enjoyed it. I want to mention that Jack Kay from the Magic Gang, who are another excellent band, helped out on this one, and you should definitely listen to their album. I'd say their second album, Death of the Party, would be the one to listen to if you're interested. He also wrote on one other song in the album. That's going to be this one, track number 5, Funny Way of Showing It, the second single of the album after Catch You on the Way Back In. That's the order they came out and the order they appear on the album. Bit of a coincidence there. This song sounds very Magic Gang in the sense of the guitar work. Apparently he did write some of the chords for it, and apparently there was a chord he wrote that they couldn't play, so they had to call him up to try and get him ask him how to play it. The vocals on this song are very different from the rest of the album as well. It's kind of interesting to me that this was the second single, considering it is very different to what comes up on the other songs in the album. And for me, it doesn't do as much for me as some of the other stuff. Maybe it's just overplaying it, trying to find meaning where it's not really there. Because when a song comes out like a single, I do listen to them a lot. The backing vocals on the chorus definitely add a great deal to it, even if it's just a simple ah. And the song definitely has a beautiful rhythm controlled by that guitar. I like the constant teasing of the line, you just wanna, and then it trails off until the very end when it's you just wanna feel real. And that line and the vocal effects on it are very good. Not a big fan of the outro. It's never really the style of outro I go for, just repeating the lyric over and over again as the song trails off. It doesn't feel like the second single, as I said. If it's the second single they gave us, there's definitely better singles. We'll get to them a little bit longer. It's a difficult song to knock, but it's far from my favourite on the album. Well, I said there were better singles. We're moving on to our 4th single. It's No One Knows Better. The singer says this is one of the songs he got to spout a load of nonsense on. It's very lyrically dense, and I think I enjoy the lyrics to it. A coffee table book about illegal raves. You hit it when I bend the corner of a page. The bit about Jim Morrison's grave as well, I think is an excellent feeling too, and just evokes a feeling of being somewhere where you feel like you should be giving reverence, but you're sort of distracted. I think that's a feeling a lot of people can relate to, a feeling that you should be living in the moment, but you aren't really. It's not linked to phones, which I suppose is a big plus when you're making a metaphor like that. The guitar on this, I think, is the thing that sort of lets it down for me. It evokes a sort of jungle-esque feel, and it feels a bit predictable. Like, between the first and second verses, I don't really like I think it's the second chorus and the next bit. I can't remember exactly when it is, but it just feels like I don't like the way the guitar goes. The chorus lyrics are good. The bridge is fun. I enjoy the guitar part on the bridge. It wasn't the bridge I was talking about. I think it's the first chorus into the second verse. It is my least favourite single, but I do still enjoy it. It feels like this song never really clicked with me in the way the others did. I do still sing along though to the chorus. Chorus is fun. The lyrics playing, changing out the words. Oh, I can't remember it off the top of my head. It's just moments of pressure. I just completely flounder. It's not like me. It's not likely, but I like you. What's that? We're over the halfway point of the album. Don't worry, I'm not crying, you're crying. The final single released, not the last one of the album though. We do have to wait for one more track for that. It's incredibly simple, this song. A very jaunty track, probably the most lighthearted on the album. I'd say definitely. I can't think of anything else that's really on that level, especially when you look at the video. I recommend you all watch it. I'll link it in the description with the puppets. I think that's pretty fun. I really enjoy the simplicity to it, and it sort of pays homage in a sense to the old Spector songs in the first album, Enjoy It While It Lasts, where there was incredible simplicity to it, like, you know, I'll Never Fade Away. That's not the name of the song. Never Fade Away is the name of the song. And just how simple it was. But this song doesn't take itself as seriously as some of those early Spector songs, so I think it works a bit better. Everyone I've listened to it with didn't enjoy it as much as I did, but I really like it. I love the simplicity of it. I love harmonies. I love it when two people are singing. This song definitely has that in abundance, you know, that I'm not crying, you're crying. And then the repetition in the background, I'm not trying, you're trying, over and over again. It's so good. It feels like a bit of a hand waver, and I love the chords on the pre-chorus and chorus. And the bridge is excellent as well. Spectors excel on bridges. It's another example of that. They've done a really, really good job here. And the Vaccines talked about it on their last album, about how sometimes simplicity is exceptionally strong on an album, and I think this song definitely exemplifies that. Okay, we've got one more single to go. What are they going to show us? It's been a bit of a spectrum at the moment. It's just spectrum, spectorum. I'm sure you could crowbar a pun in there somewhere. They've all been a bit different so far. Our final one is a bit different again. It's probably more similar to catch you on the way back in. It is going to be Bad Summer, starting with that beautiful arpeggiator. Gives the song a lovely tempo, and it once again evokes the feeling of rain. That adorns the album cover. This just feels like such a traveling home on a bus or train sort of album feel. It just works so well. I love the dueling guitar and vocals at the start. The parts of this album of this song that work really well are the verses. The second verse as well is maybe my favorite part on the whole album. Just how quickly he's singing and just how it lines up well with the guitar. So many good lines as well. Orion was glistening, you'd already stopped listening. The line, you were 26 and I was 27, is just said quite nicely. And as well as, you know, leading it into that second verse with, maybe they should never have sat us together, we were bad news in good weather. I don't think the lines themselves sound that great out of context when I'm saying them, but they flow so perfectly in the song. It's quite a short song, it's like 2.5 minutes, it breezes through, but it very definitely leaves an impression. Arguably my favourite single. It really comes down to how I'm feeling between Catch You on the Way Back In and this. They're both absolutely excellent songs. I think the album's credit that they are there. They're both 10 out of 10s. We've still got one more 10 out of 10 to go. Which one will it be? Place your bets. Will it be D. Roy? Track number 9. It's our final trio of new songs. These songs, it was kind of weird because it went on the album. When Saturday Comes was new. Hadn't heard that before. Then we had Catch You on the Way Back In, which I'd heard before. 2 new songs in Do You Want to Drive Norwegian Air. Then we had a run of 4 singles in a row. This is the final trio of songs that I hadn't heard before. It's a tribute to a friend. I have no idea who it is. It could be former bassist Danny Blandy, based on just the letter D. I have no other insight on that one. It's probably the least clear song to hear. There's a lot of simultaneous noise going on. The lyrics are quite clear compared to the rest of it. The repetition of D. Roy, I don't know. It feels a little bit grating on my ears. I don't really like. It doesn't sound right as a word. D. Roy. Maybe it's because it's not a word that exists. Maybe it's just because it's a nickname. It doesn't feel right. It's nice that they made that sort of a tribute song. It's very different because it's sort of more anchored in the real world. There's one more song that kind of is like that. We haven't got to it yet. The line "existing is exhausting" is always pretty fun. It's a fun track. It's an album track. It's not going to light the world on fire, and I think it does do quite a good job for the backstretch of the album, and it's the closest the album has to a love song, which is kind of strange, especially considering it's not to a woman or a potential lover, it's to a friend. Here we are, 2 tracks from the end, 8 minutes to go on the album. Is it going to be 2 4-minute songs? Nope. It's going to be a 2-minute and a 6-minute. Starting with the 2-minute, it's track number 10. It's This Time Next Year. Very different to everything else on the album, as this song is quite acoustic, quite folky, recorded in one go. Interesting use of the pan flute as well. Not a massive fan of the instrument really. I think the chorus on this song's a bit too simplistic as well. Now I'm down, I can see what's up. Feels a bit, I don't know, feels a bit obvious. Feels a bit, doesn't really do anything for me. I think the verses are generally good. I like the use of the word rhododendron because I think it's a funny word, and I'm glad he's crowbarred it in. It's very similar to the rest of the album in that I like the verses, but the chorus kind of lets it down. I like that it exists. I like it's a different sort of change of tempo, but it's definitely my least favorite song on the album, discounting obvious ones. And it feels like a bit of a calm before the storm. What is the storm? We'll get to that soon. We'll leave this time next year behind. I kind of want to mention, it feels kind of, because he mentions pregnancy tests, and I know he had a child. I'm not sure if it was after, I think, after this album was recorded, but before now. He obviously couldn't have had a child in the future. He had a child at some point after the album was recorded, but before it was released, I should say. So I think the line about pregnancy test means the song is maybe a bit more true to life than some of the other ones. D-Roy as well, maybe they have that in common. Maybe that's why they're at the end of this album. Let's go to the storm then. Let's get into the Eye of the Storm. Probably the song I can talk the longest about. My favourite song on the album, my favourite Spector song ever. I'm going to go push the boat out and say it's An American Warehouse in London. Track number 11, the final track on the album, 6 minutes. It's a masterpiece. They call it their Everest. It's the longest song they've made. I think you should just listen to it. I mean, I said it with Wanderlust in my last review. I feel like if there's one song you just sit and you just listen to, An American Warehouse in London. I read a review of the album before it came out, and I mentioned this song being amazing or whatever. So I was kind of excited when I listened to it, and it just completely captivated me all the way through. The first time I heard it was pretty crazy stuff, just seeing which way it twisted and turned, whether it be the use of the arpeggiator in the same way at Bad Summer, or the bridge with the guitar solo, and then how it ends as well, and then the final instrumental break. It just sort of kept me guessing a bit at every turn. And it sort of starts kind of like tame-ish, but when that guitar kicks in on the first chorus, shit's getting real. It's gonna kick off, and it just has this beautiful weight on the whole chorus. Was it the creeping fear of the empty page? How much do you weigh, and how much of us will be left when we get there? Sort of a sense of creeping dread that I really like, because it's the album's over. It's almost the idea that you're about to hit the bumpers on the railway line. Things are about to stop soon. Maybe it's referring to the band as a whole. They're on the wind down, as they said. A lot of people have left. Maybe this is the final Spector song that ever comes out. I mean, obviously I love the band, so I wouldn't want it to be, but if it is, I wouldn't be upset. This is probably the best way you could go out with something like this. I love that beautiful pause going into that second verse, which I really enjoy. I don't know why. I've always been I like Places. If I ever wrote music, probably I'll be about Places. This line about international schools. I feel like the actual title lyric, An American Warehouse in London, it feels a bit clunky to say, but English Girl in New York sort of sounds a bit better. I love that beautiful guitar solo after that second chorus. Oh, it feels so good. It's very different to the rest of the album, that final guitar solo, but it feels like it belongs. And then where most Spector songs would have ended with that third chorus, this song builds to the final sort of bridge part of it. The When You're Not Here is Euphoria is blinding. God, what's the line? I can't remember off the top of my head. I'm not going to look it up. I'm just going to persevere through. You'll hear it yourself if you listen. That final part of the album, the final part of the song is really good, and then just that gradual come down at the guitar, and then it just synthesizers coming in. It just gives like a feeling of closure to the album. The fact that it sort of sweeps down like that, it feels amazing. It's a really good song, and my favorite Spector song ever. The only songs, like, for me, top 5 Spector songs ever would be like True Love for Now, I Won't Wait, Wild Guess, Sad Young Men, and this will probably be it. Oh well, there's probably more as well. Bad Summer, Catch You on the Way Back In, Local International, just to name a few. There's some very, very good songs they've made, but I think this song sort of tops the pile for me, at least for now. Maybe it's just the newness of it, that's Shiny Gleam, but I suppose I didn't say that about Catch You on the Way Back In or Bad Summer when they came out, but this is my favourite Spector song, I would say. That's going to wrap up the album then. Let's go to the final section. We're doing our outro. The Artist's Goal, did they succeed? I feel like, I don't feel like, they said, I watched an interview with the singer, Fred, and he said that they sort of kept music because there's people who'd be upset if they stopped. And they definitely did make some music. That is indisputable. It was very good music, I'd agree. I feel like if you enjoy Spector, you're going to love this. because it's different, but it's not that different. It's sort of the same thing as non-fiction. In my opinion, Spector have gotten better with every album. Enjoy It While It Lasts and Mothboys are about the same, to be fair. There wasn't like one was amazing, the other wasn't. Mothboys had a few missed tracks, whereas Enjoy It While It Lasts was a bit, it was very commercial, very simple. But then non-fiction, those 3 EPs joined together, as well as Brinton 2, which is a song that everyone's forgotten about. But I think that album was really something special. Probably one of my favourite albums ever, but this one even eclipses it. I'd say it would be in my top 5 albums ever if I'm doing one per artist. It will definitely be in the top 10. It's something that, I waited a good while for, and I hoped it wouldn't disappoint. It definitely didn't. Just mention songs I liked and songs I didn't before I get to that final score. I'm going to say I liked every single song. When Saturday Comes, I'm not going to rate because it's not really a song. Didn't really care that much for This Time Next Year, but that would only be like a 6 out of 10, I think. If it was on another album, I'd say, yeah, it was kind of nice, kind of cool. But in fact, it's on this one. It feels like it's not as good. 3 out of 10 out of 10s is, as I said, Bad Summer, Catch You on the Way Back In, and An American Warehouse in London. I just say, please just give the album a go from me. I would give it a 9.4 out of 10. It's very high. I don't know how much higher songs can really go. I'd say there's only 4 albums that spring to my head that I think are maybe better. One per artist, of course, as I've said. It would probably be about 6 then, but it would all be just all the albums from my favourite artists. Well, what will I be doing next? I'm going back to university. Time will be tighter, but I will try and get a video done for the new Wombats album. I've been listening to that. I've got thoughts on it. Is it better than this one? Is it worse? Is it bad? You'll have to find out when that video comes out. Thank you all so much for watching. Goodbye.